US and Iran seems close tonight. Donald Trump says a memorandum of understanding with the regime in Tehran has been largely negotiated. Final details of the deal are being discussed, says the president, and the Strait of Hormuz will be opened. Also on the programme, temperatures climb towards new records as the very early summer heat wave takes hold.
Just make sure you stay hydrated, just get sun protection, hats, sunscreen.
We're having ice creams, iced coffees, and then later, I think, some ice cold pints.
Tragedy in China. More than 80 people are killed in a gas explosion in a coal mine. Hull City win the Championship playoff final, while the Prime Minister leads calls for the Champions League final to be broadcast for free. And aging engines and a lack of spare parts force the Red Arrows to have their wings clipped.
This is ITV News with Geraint, Vincent.
Good evening. Hopes are building tonight that the United States and Iran are moving closer to an agreement to end the war. Officials on both sides and diplomats from mediating countries all say recent talks have been positive. Iran has cited narrowing differences, while President Trump has said an agreement was getting a lot closer. US Secretary of State Marco Rubio said progress had been made. Well, Amy Lewis is here with more. Amy, hopes have been raised before, haven't they? Is this really it?
Well, I mean, in the last few minutes, President Trump seems to be suggesting that it is. As you say, we do need to be cautious. We've been here before. It's an update on those talks that have been taking place in Pakistan. They, of course, have been acting as a mediator throughout all of this. It seemed to suggest that there's been a breakthrough. Yesterday, President Trump said that he wouldn't be leaving the White House for the weekend. That meant that he would be missing his eldest son's wedding. He said to focus on all of this. And in the last few minutes, he's actually posted on Truth, his social media page. He said the following. He said, "I'm in the Oval Office at the White House where we've just had a very good call with leaders." He said, he went on to say, the final aspects and details of the deal are currently being discussed and are being announced shortly. In addition to many other elements of the agreement, the Strait of Hormuz will be opened. Of course, that is crucial because that has meant that petrol prices and oil prices throughout the world, of course, have been increased. Now, he has said that it's a largely negotiated deal. We haven't had any details from President Trump on what that would involve, but US networks are reporting that an official involved in the talks, talking on the condition of anonymity, has said that the potential deal would include an official declaration of the war's end with 2-month negotiations on Iran's nuclear program. And of course, Geraint, it was 12 weeks ago, back in February, that Israel and the US attacked Iran. We saw a temporary ceasefire put in place in April, but of course we do need to be cautious. We have been here before, but President Trump suggesting that this is a real breakthrough.
Okay, Amy, many thanks. Here, temperatures above 30 degrees centigrade are very rare in the month of May, but they were recorded today on this, the hottest day of the year so far. The high of 30.3 degrees in Kent this afternoon was warmer than both Athens and the Seychelles. It was the start of a glorious bank holiday weekend for many, but with temperatures continuing to climb up to 34 degrees by Tuesday. People are being urged to take care in the sunshine, and health authorities warn that vulnerable groups are at risk. Vicky Smith reports.
As Britain bakes,
Oh, he's loving it.
everyone's searching for ways to stay cool. For a second day, temperatures have soared. In Ardingsley Reservoir in West Sussex, plenty are making the most of the sunshine, alongside those keen to avoid it.
Just trying to stay in the shade for me because I'm not pale skinned, so I'm not really good in the sun at all.
Just make sure you stay hydrated, just get sun protection, hats, sunscreen.
Well, I'm gonna try paddleboarding for the very first time, so I'm super excited, and it's a perfect weather to do that today.
We're having ice creams, iced coffees, and then later, I think, some ice cold pints. That's what we're going to do with the day.
Cities sweltered too. Pride marched through a boiling Birmingham, just one of the places under a heat health alert across England. The most serious, amber, are across the Midlands, London and the South East. while yellow warnings are in place for the rest of the country. Many are sticking to guidance from the health authorities. As the heat intensifies, though, there's fear some may want to jump into open water. People are being advised not to underestimate how cold it could be.
Well, cold water shock is something we're particularly concerned about with this hot spell because it's occurring so early in the season that bodies of water, inland or the sea, haven't had a chance to warm up. We do sadly hear about people getting into difficulty jumping into random bodies of water inland or around the coast. So yeah, just bear that in mind. The water is still very cold despite the air being hot.
As the country braces for record-breaking temperatures, it could reach 33 degrees on Monday and 34 on Tuesday. People are being asked to enjoy themselves safely, and however small you are, be extra careful in or around water. Vicky Smith, ITV News.
The Port of Dover says traffic onto ferries has been free-flowing this evening after new EU border checks were suspended to ease congestion. Drivers faced long queues and waits of more than 3 hours this morning in those soaring temperatures, due in part to issues with the new EU entry-exit system. French border police at Dover stopped taking the now required fingerprints and photos of every non-EU citizen to speed up the process. At least 80 people have died in a gas explosion at a coal mine in northern China. More than 100 were injured and a rescue operation continues to look for more survivors. The cause is not yet known, but experts have told ITV News that the mine in Shanxi province had a poor safety record. Sabah Chowdhury has the latest.
In a country scarred by industrial disasters, last night tragedy struck northern China. A gas explosion ripped through the Liushengyu coal mine in Shanxi, and very soon it was clear this would be China's deadliest mining disaster in over a decade. Local media reports almost 250 workers were underground. More than 100 were pulled to safety and now are in hospital, many with injuries from inhaling toxic gas. And for those unaccounted for, a massive rescue operation was launched, but with miners still trapped below the surface. Chinese state media relayed this message from President Xi Jinping. Calls for all-out efforts to find survivors, a thorough investigation, and accountability. But despite the rhetoric, the risks here were known. In 2024, safety officials classified the mine as dangerous, citing high gas levels, but it still stayed open.
They knew this was a dangerous mine. The mine inspectors have been in there on a number of occasions. There's a lot of pressure on Chinese coal miners at the moment, with the Straits of Hormuz being closed. No nation wants to run out of energy, and the pressure to keep production rates up or even to increase coal production in China is such that it's possible they might be skipping on some of the safety measures that they really, really need to maintain.
And now, as the search continues, questions are being asked whether the warnings were missed or simply ignored. Sabah Chowdhury, ITV News.
In other news, the Red Cross says 3 of its volunteers have died in the growing Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo. They are among 177 suspected deaths from the outbreak. There were 750 suspected cases being monitored, but 18 patients escaped from a treatment centre today when angry residents burned it down. A British man has been killed in action in Ukraine. His family say 23-year-old Ayrton Redfern from South Devon died in the Donetsk region earlier this month. He had joined a specialist unit supporting the Ukrainian army last year. And Keir Starmer has written to TNT Sports, urging them to broadcast next weekend's Champions League final free to air in the UK. The Prime Minister said hard-working people should not have to worry about forking out for a subscription to... Now, it's regarded as the richest game in football, the Championship playoff final at Wembley, with a place in the Premier League at stake. The build-up was shrouded in controversy, of course, when Southampton were thrown out after admitting spying on Middlesbrough. This afternoon, Borough took Southampton's place but had their hearts broken by the Tigers of Hull City. Here's Chris Scudder.
Soaring temperatures at Wembley and that hottest of controversies was on everyone's mind. Southampton, Spygate, no smoke without fire.
Spygate at this time, but we didn't know. But we get the free hit out of this, so yeah, we're going to win.
But the omens were not good. Middlesbrough had never won in 5 tries at Wembley before. Their players barely had time to prepare for the final after Southampton were thrown out in a game high on tension, low on chances.
The closest yet.
30-degree heat on one of the hottest ever Wembley days in May took its toll. This was a far cry from Teesside and Humberside. With the game drifting towards an extra half hour, Hull won it in stoppage time. Ollie McBurney will never score a more important goal. The team, who were unfancied at the start of the season, are heading to the Premier League.
When you consider where we were last season, we nearly went down promotions. Oh, I just can't get my head around it. Absolutely brilliant.
It's been a fantastic day. I'm sorry for Middlesbrough. I know how they feel. We've been on it many times. They're losing.
It feels absolutely brilliant to be back in the Premier League.
We knew they were going to win, but to win, just to leave us hanging right to the last minute, literally, it was a real relief. So yeah, we're just over the moon.
Heartbreak for Middlesbrough. They could not take their second chance at glory. But the Tigers of Hull are roaring back into the big time. Chris Scudder, ITV News.
And a week after beating Hearts to the Scottish title, the champions, Celtic, are now celebrating the double after winning the Scottish Cup. They beat underdogs Dunfermline Athletic 3-1 at Hampden Park. It extends Celtic's record total to 43 Scottish Cups and 21 League and Cup doubles. Finally, they are symbols of Britain's aeronautical excellence, appearing at air shows around the world. But the jets which make up the Red Arrows are getting old, and they won't get new ones before the 2030s at the earliest. So a decision has been taken to reduce the standard formation from 9 aircraft to 7, meaning less wear and tear, lower fuel costs and more spare parts. Jay Akbar explains how the skies do now have limits.
The famous Red Arrows have flown as a Diamond 9 from before you could tell they were red. After 60 years in the iconic formation, the RAF aerobatic team will mostly fly as a 7. It's largely because these jets, the Hawk T1, are fast approaching their out-of-service date of 2030. Their parts are harder to find and repair, which is increasingly expensive. If anything, an ex-military pilot told me the change may be overdue.
So this is old technology, yes it is. And that is the huge issue with them, is spares, because they actually stopped the production line for parts for the aircraft back in 2020. And so basically what you're doing is you're using an ageing pool of aircraft to create spares for the existing fleet. And so I think going down to 7 is a really sensible option just to keep them flying, I think, to their out-of-service date.
It means the sight we're used to seeing in the skies above us will look a little different, though no less spectacular.
They've hit a situation now where they need to make a realistic decision, and that is that 9's not really a guaranteed number for every display. I think I speak for most people who love the Red Arrows and aviation. If you said that one of them was going to turn up, let alone 3, 5, 7 or 9, everybody would be equally excited, pulses would be racing, and blood pressure would be sky high with excitement.
They'll still fly as a 9 for the King's birthday fly past next month. Beyond that, the sky really is the limit for this world-famous team. Jay Akbar, ITV News.
And that's it for tonight. The national and local weather forecasts are next, but from everyone on the Weekend News team, thank you for watching.